They threw me out in the snow, pregnant, penniless, publicly humiliated. My billionaire husband chose his blonde mistress and called me Barren on live television. I survived on nothing, gave birth in a clinic with no power, watched my son's lungs fail while nurse's hand pumped air into his tiny chest. What happened next? Did I break? Did I disappear forever? Or did I rise so high that when he came crawling back, he didn't recognize the empire I built from his cruelty? Watch till the end. This story will shatter your heart, then rebuild it piece by piece. You won't stop your tears, but you won't look away either. Welcome to Mr. James' Family Channel, where we bring you the most powerful, emotional, and life-changing stories that will touch your soul. Before we begin, I need you to do 3 things. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could change how you see the world. Second, smash that like button if you believe in second chances, strong women, and the power of a mother's love. And third, here's my question for you. If someone publicly destroyed you, humiliated you, and threw you away like trash, but then came back 5 years later begging for forgiveness, would you give them a second chance? Or would you make them prove they've changed? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I'm reading every single one. And here's the truth. By the end of this story, your answer might completely change. Now, let's dive into Arya's journey. The night the world went dark, the chandeliers above the Vane Foundation gala sparkled like 1,000 frozen tears. Arya stood near the champagne fountain, her brown fingers trembling against the silk of her emerald gown. She'd chosen green because Silas once said it made her eyes look like honey catching sunlight. That was 3 years ago, back when he still looked at her. Now his gaze slid past her like she was furniture. Expensive furniture he regretted purchasing. The ballroom buzzed with Manhattan's elite. Women in diamonds worth more than small countries. Men whose handshakes could topple governments. And Arya, the only brown face in a sea of pale ones, except for the servers weaving through the crowd with silver trays. She touched her stomach. Just that morning, 2 pink lines had appeared on the test. 2 perfect, impossible lines. Her doctor said it was a miracle after 3 years of trying. She'd tucked the test into her clutch, waiting for the right moment to tell Silas, maybe after his speech. Maybe when they were alone in the car, his hand on her knee like he used to do. Ladies and gentlemen. Silas's voice cut through the murmur. He stood on the stage, microphone in hand, looking like every woman's fantasy in his tailored Tom Ford tuxedo. Sharp jaw, cold grey eyes, hair the color of expensive whiskey. Arya's heart kicked. He was looking right at her. This was it. He was going to announce something wonderful. Maybe he'd already found out about the baby somehow. 4 years ago, I made a business investment. His voice was steady, practiced. I married Arya Moreno, a woman of modest background. I believed in potential, in growth. The crowd shifted. Uncomfortable glances. Arya's smile froze. But some investments fail. Silas gestured toward her like she was a PowerPoint slide. The Vane family requires legacy. Continuation. A tree that bears no fruit is simply firewood. She couldn't breathe. The room tilted. Arya is barren. The word cracked across the ballroom like a gunshot. Modern medicine has confirmed what nature already knew. She cannot give me an heir. He paused, letting it sink in. which is why I'm announcing my engagement to Isabella Sterling, who is currently carrying my child. Our lawyers will finalize the annulment by Monday." The crowd exploded into whispers. Aria's legs stopped working. She gripped the fountain's edge, champagne splashing onto her shoes. Isabella Sterling emerged from the shadows in a white dress, her hand on a barely there bump, her smile sharp as broken glass. She was everything Aria wasn't: blonde, pale, connected. Her family owned Sterling Financial, the bank that held Silas's entire commercial real estate portfolio. Silas walked toward Aria, not with love, with purpose. He held out his hand. "The ring. Silas, please." Her voice cracked. "I need to tell you something." "The ring, Aria." Her fingers wouldn't move. That ring was the last piece of the girl who'd believed in fairy tales, who'd married a cold man, thinking her warmth could thaw him. He grabbed her hand, twisted. The ring came off, taking skin with it. Blood welled up on her finger. He didn't notice. He was already handing the ring to Isabella, who slipped it on with a giggle. "Security will escort you out," Silas said, his breath mint fresh, his eyes dead. "You have 1 hour to collect your things from the penthouse. After that, the locks change." "I'm pregnant." The words fell out of her mouth like stones. Silas laughed. Actually laughed. "My mother had 5 specialists examine you. You're as fertile as a salt flat." "Nice try." He turned his back. 2 security guards appeared at her elbows. Big men with earpieces and no sympathy. They walked her through the ballroom, past the staring faces, past the phones recording her humiliation for tomorrow's gossip sites, past the life she'd tried so hard to fit into. The lobby was marble and cold. Outside, snow fell in thick, wet clumps, the kind of February storm that buried the city. One of the guards handed her a small suitcase. "This is all we were instructed to give you." Then they shut the door. Aria stood on 5th Avenue in a designer gown and heels that cost more than her mother's monthly rent. Snow soaked through the silk immediately. She opened the suitcase. 3 changes of clothes. Her passport. Nothing else. No money, no phone, no keys. Her bank app was frozen. A red message: ACCOUNTBYP RIMARA HELDIA. Of course, everything had been in Silas's name. The apartment. The credit cards. She'd been so in love she'd signed everything he'd put in front of her. A cab slowed, saw her brown face and wet hair, and sped up. Then another, then another. Aria walked. The gown dragged through slush. Her heels broke. She kept walking, one hand pressed to her stomach, where 2 tiny hearts were just beginning to beat. Somewhere behind her, Silas was probably kissing Isabella for the cameras. Somewhere ahead, in the storm, was a future she couldn't see yet. But inside her, despite everything, despite the cold and the cruelty and the public execution of her dignity, 2 small cells divided and multiplied and grew. She was not barren. She was a mother. And that truth, small as a mustard seed, would crack the foundation of Silas Vane's world. She just didn't know it yet. The snow fell harder. The city swallowed her whole. And in the warm ballroom she'd left behind, Lady Catherine Vane watched through the window, a smile playing at her lips. Everything was going according to plan. Except for one small problem. The medical records she'd forged, said Aria, couldn't conceive. But biology doesn't read paperwork, and revenge, as they say, is a dish best served cold. The shelter where dreams go to die. The Gateway Women's Shelter smelled like industrial cleaner and defeated hope. Aria lay on a cot that sagged in the middle, her hand on her stomach, listening to the sounds of 30 other women breathing in the dark. It had been 6 weeks since the gala. 6 weeks of learning what rock bottom actually felt like. Turned out, there were basements below rock bottom. "You okay, honey?" The voice came from the cot beside her. Maria, a woman in her 50s who'd lost her husband and her home in the same month. She had kind eyes and hands that shook from withdrawal. "Yeah." Aria lied. "You don't look okay. You look green." Aria bolted upright and ran for the bathroom. She made it to the toilet just in time. Morning sickness, except it happened all day now. Every smell triggered it. The donated breakfast oatmeal, the chemical soap, her own unwashed hair. When she came back, Maria handed her a sleeve of crackers. "I knew it." "How far along?" 3 months. Aria's voice was barely a whisper. "Twins." She'd found out at the free clinic on Amsterdam Avenue. The doctor, tired and overworked, had squinted at the ultrasound. "Well, that's unusual. 2 heartbeats. Congratulations, I guess. Congratulations." Like being pregnant and homeless was winning the lottery. Maria whistled low. And the father doesn't know. Doesn't care. That was the truth. Aria had tried calling Silas once, from a payphone 3 weeks ago. His assistant had answered. "Mr. Vane has instructed us to inform you that any further contact will result in a restraining order. He believes you to be deceased as of last week. Please do not call again. Deceased." He thought she was dead. No, worse. He'd made her dead. Erased her from his life so completely that her existence was now inconvenient fiction. "You need to eat better than this," Maria said, eyeing Aria's skeletal frame. "Those babies need more than crackers and hope." "I'm working. 3 jobs, actually." She cleaned offices from midnight to 6 a.m., scrubbing toilets in buildings where she used to attend charity functions. Then she worked the breakfast shift at a diner in Hell's Kitchen, serving eggs to construction workers who sometimes left decent tips. Then, if she was lucky, she picked up a few hours at a flower shop in Chelsea. 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. She made roughly $900 a month. Prenatal vitamins at the pharmacy were $45. Without insurance, her next ultrasound would cost $300. The math didn't work. It would never work. But she tried anyway, because what else could she do? That afternoon, Aria stood behind the diner counter, pouring coffee for a regular named Frank, when the TV above the register flickered to life. Breaking news. Her hand froze. There on the screen was Silas. Grey suit. Perfect hair. Standing beside Isabella, in front of Lenox Hill Hospital. "We're thrilled to announce the birth of our daughter, Catherine Isabella Vane," Silas said, his hand on Isabella's shoulder. 7 pounds, healthy, and absolutely perfect. Aria's vision tunneled. Isabella held a pink bundle, smiling for the cameras like she'd just won an Oscar. But Aria could see it. The way Isabella's eyes darted nervously. The way the baby's face stayed carefully angled away from the cameras. The way Silas's smile didn't reach his eyes. Something was wrong. Frank cleared his throat. "You gonna pour that coffee, or just hold the pot all day?" She poured. Her hands shook so badly, she spilled it across the counter. "Sorry," she muttered, grabbing a towel. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Frank said. more like seeing the man who'd murdered her and moved on without missing a beat. That night, Arya sat in the shelter's common room, staring at the grainy television. A rerun of some sitcom played. Women around her laughed at jokes she couldn't hear. Her phone, a $15 flip phone from a bodega, buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Debt collectors had found her somehow. They called constantly about credit cards she'd never opened, loans she'd never taken. But something made her pick up. Arya Marino. The voice was male, rough, unfamiliar. Who's asking? My name is Detective Miller. We need to talk. Tonight. Her blood went cold. I haven't done anything wrong. I know. That's why we need to talk. There's a coffee shop on 9th Avenue and 42nd. Be there in an hour. Come alone. If you don't show up, what I know goes to the grave with me. He hung up. Arya sat there, heart pounding. This was either salvation or a trap. She thought about the twins, about the $900 she'd saved in an envelope under her mattress, about the fact that winter was coming and the shelter had a 3-month limit. She thought about Silas's face on that television screen, holding another woman's baby. Then she stood up, grabbed her coat, and walked out into the October rain. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Just a bored barista and a man in his 60s sitting in the back booth. Grey hair, weathered face, cop eyes that had seen too much. He gestured to the seat across from him. Arya sat. I was hired to kill you, he said without preamble. She stopped breathing. Lady Catherine Vane paid me $50,000 to make sure you disappeared permanently after the gala. Staged accident. No body. Why didn't you? He looked at her stomach. She wasn't showing yet, but somehow he knew. I've done bad things in my life, but I don't kill pregnant women. I told Lady Catherine it was done. Gave her a fake police report, a death certificate I forged. As far as the Vane family knows, Arya Marino died in a car accident in New Jersey 6 weeks ago. The room spun. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm dying. Lung cancer. 3 months, maybe 4. And I figure doing one decent thing might balance the scales a little. He slid an envelope across the table. That's $10,000. Cash. Untraceable. It's not much, but it'll get you out of New York. Somewhere they'll never find you. Arya stared at the envelope like it was a snake. There's more. Miller continued. Isabella Sterling's baby. Not Silas's. She hired a surrogate. Paid the woman $500,000 to keep quiet. The baby's biological father is some medical student she was sleeping with at Columbia. DNA test would prove it in 5 minutes. Arya's mouth opened, closed. Why would she do that? Same reason anyone does anything in that world. Money. Power. Silas Vane was desperate for an heir. Isabella gave him one. In exchange, he married into her family's bank. Win-win. He coughed hard. Except Silas has no idea he's raising someone else's kid. This was insane. All of it. What do I do with this information? Miller stood. That's up to you. But if I were you, I'd disappear. Build a new life. And when the time is right, when you're strong enough. He smiled, sad and knowing. You burn his whole world to the ground. He walked out. Arya sat there for an hour, the envelope in her hands. $10,000. The truth about Isabella. And inside her, 2 babies who would one day want to know who their father was. She made her decision. By morning, Arya Marino was gone. The woman who boarded the Greyhound bus to Seattle had no name yet. But she would. And 5 years from now, Silas Vane would learn that the dead don't always stay buried. Eden Rising. The rain in Washington state was different from New York rain. Softer, patient. Like it had all the time in the world to wear you down. Arya stood in the greenhouse, her hands buried in soil, watching tiny seedlings push through the dark earth. 5 years of this. 5 years of coaxing life from nothing. "Mum! Luna took my dinosaur again!" She smiled. Leo's voice carried across the property, indignant and sweet. He was 5 now, tall for his age, with Silas's sharp features and her warm brown skin. Did not. Luna's voice, smaller but fiercer. She had Arya's curls and those eyes. Those impossible violet, blue eyes that only appeared in one bloodline on Earth. The Vane bloodline. Arya wiped her hands on her jeans and walked toward the main house. Not a house, really. An estate. 12 acres of former wasteland. She'd transformed into Eden Tech's headquarters. Glass buildings emerged from the forest, like something from a dream. Inside, scientists worked on her patents. Pharmaceutical compounds derived from rare Amazonian plants she'd spent 3 years sourcing and studying. The company was worth $2 billion now. Forbes had done a profile last month. The mysterious CEO who refuses to show her face. She'd kept her identity hidden. No photos. No interviews. Just results. The pharmaceutical world knew her as E. Morrison, a ghost who'd revolutionized organic drug development and refused every buyout offer, no matter how many zeros. "Mummy, tell Leo I didn't take his dinosaur." Luna crashed into her legs, all wild hair and fury. Arya scooped her up. "Did you take it?" "Yes, but he wasn't playing with it right." "That's called stealing, baby. It's called quality control," Luna said seriously. Behind her, Dr. Sarah Chen laughed. Sarah was Eden Tech's chief science officer, a brilliant woman Arya had recruited from Stanford 3 years ago. She'd become more than an employee. She was family now. "That kid is going to run a corporation someday," Sarah said. "Or a small country. Hopefully both." Arya set Luna down. "Go apologize to your brother." "Fine." Luna stomped off like she was being asked to donate a kidney. Sarah handed Arya a tablet. "The quarterly reports. We're up 18%. The new malaria treatment is performing beyond projections in field trials." Arya scrolled through the numbers. Once upon a time, she'd been a girl who could barely balance a checkbook. Now she read financial statements like poetry. Poverty was an excellent teacher. "There's something else," Sarah said carefully. Vane Ventures reached out. They want a meeting. They're looking for a merger partner. Apparently, they're in trouble. Arya's fingers stopped moving. "What kind of trouble?" "The Sterling financial scandal. You heard about it?" Everyone had heard. Isabella Sterling's family bank had collapsed 6 months ago under investigation for fraud. Billions in assets frozen. The Sterling name was poison now, and Silas had tied his entire commercial portfolio to them. "He's desperate," Sarah continued. "Word is he's losing properties left and right. His board wants him out. He needs capital, and he needs it fast. Eden Tech is one of the few companies with enough liquid assets to save him." Arya stared at the rain outside. 5 years. She'd rebuilt herself from nothing. Became someone Silas could never imagine. And now he was coming to her, begging. "Set up the meeting," Arya said quietly. Heir. Next week. Sarah's eyes widened. Are you sure? You've kept your identity hidden for a reason. I'm sure. That night, after the twins were asleep, Arya stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom. She barely recognized herself. The scared girl from the shelter was gone. In her place stood a woman in silk, sharp-eyed and dangerous. She'd gained weight back, muscle and curves. Her hair fell in thick waves past her shoulders. Her skin glowed. She looked like money. She looked like power. She looked like everything Silas had thrown away. The next morning, she called her lawyer. I need you to prepare something for me. A contract. Very specific terms. What kind of contract? The kind that takes everything. 5 days later, a helicopter landed on Eden Tech's private pad. Arya watched from her office window as Silas Vane climbed out, flanked by 2 assistants. He'd aged, not badly, but visibly. Lines around his eyes, grey threading through his temples. He moved like a man carrying weight. Good. Her assistant, James, knocked. They're here, Ms. Morrison. Give me 5 minutes. Let them wait. She'd learned the trick from Silas himself. Make them wait. Establish dominance. When she finally walked into the conference room, Silas was pacing. He turned, ready to deploy that killer smile he used on investors. It died on his face. Hello, Silas. He staggered backward like she'd shot him. That's impossible. Apparently not. She sat at the head of the table. Her company, her power. You're dead. The police report was fake. Turns out Detective Miller had a conscience. She folded her hands. Sit down. You came here for help. Let's discuss terms. He couldn't stop staring. Arya, I am Ms. Morrison in this office. That landed like a slap. He sat. His assistants looked between them, confused. You need capital, Arya said. I have it. You need your board to stop circling like sharks. I can make that happen. But mergers require leverage. So tell me, Silas, what exactly do you have that I want? Before he could answer, the conference room door opened. Leo and Luna walked in, holding Sarah's hands. It was an accident. Sarah had forgotten her tablet. The twins wanted to see the pretty office, but the timing was perfect. Silas's eyes locked on Leo, then on Luna. He stood slowly, face draining of color. Leo was his mirror image. Same nose, same jaw, same way of standing. But Luna had the eyes, vein violet blue, impossible, unmistakable. A genetic marker that appeared once every 3 generations, tied to a specific chromosome combination. Silas's grandmother had them. His great-uncle. Him. And now this tiny girl standing in Eden Tech's conference room, staring at him with curiosity and no recognition. Arya. His voice broke. How old are they? Mommy. Who's this? Leo asked. The word mommy hit Silas like a freight train. Just a businessman, baby? Arya said softly. Sarah, can you take them to the garden? Sarah hustled them out quickly, but not before Luna waved at Silas with a smile. The door closed. Silence. They're 5. It wasn't a question. Yes, the night of the gala, you said you were pregnant. I didn't believe you. I know. He sat down hard. My eyes. She has my family's eyes. That's genetically impossible unless she's yours. Which she is. They both are. Silas's hands were shaking. Actually shaking. Why didn't you tell me? Arya laughed, sharp and cold. You mean after you called me Barren, in front of 300 people? After you had your security throw me into a blizzard? After your mother paid someone to kill me. She leaned forward. I tried to tell you that night, Silas. You called me a liar, so I stopped trying. I have a daughter, he whispered. A son, twins, none. Arya's voice cut like glass. You have nothing. I have twins. You're just a man sitting in my office, begging for money. Arya, Catherine Isabella Vane isn't your daughter either, by the way. Isabella hired a surrogate. Different father entirely. DNA test would prove it. But you never checked, did you? You were so desperate for an heir you didn't bother with details. His face went white, then red, then white again. That's not possible. Detective Miller was very thorough before he died. I have all the documentation. Silas stood abruptly, knocking his chair over. I need to see them. I need to. You need to leave. They're my children. They're my children. Arya's voice thundered. You made your choice 5 years ago. You chose Isabella. You chose the Sterling name. You chose a fake hair over the real ones you threw away like trash. Now you get to live with that? Please. He was begging now. Silas Vane brought to his knees. I was wrong. I was so wrong. My mother, she showed me medical records. Forged. All of it. She couldn't stand that her son married someone who looked like me. So she paid doctors to lie. Paid Detective Miller to make me disappear. And you believed her without question, because deep down, you wanted to believe it. That silence was different. Heavier, because they both knew it was true. I'll do anything, Silas said. Anything. Just let me know them. Let me be their father. Arya stood, walked to the window. Below, in the garden, Leo and Luna chased each other through the rain, laughing. Here's my offer, she said without turning around. I'll save your company. I'll inject enough capital to keep you afloat. But in exchange, you sign over 60% of Vane Ventures to me. You step down as CEO, and you move here, move here. There's a cottage at the edge of the property. Small, modest. You'll live there. No staff, no luxuries. You'll work for Eden Tech as a junior analyst. 40,000 a year. And every Sunday, if the twins agree, you can have dinner with them. Supervised. She turned to face him. You want to be their father. Prove you can be a man first. Show me you're more than money and a name. Show them. Silas's jaw worked. That's insane. Those are the terms. Take it or leave it. I built Vane Ventures from your father's money, your grandfather's connections, other people's labor. You built nothing. You inherited everything and mistook it for talent. She walked past him toward the door. You have 24 hours. My lawyers will send the contracts. She left him there, alone, surrounded by the empire she'd built from dirt and determination. That night, at exactly 11:47 p.m., Arya's phone rang. I accept. She smiled in the dark. Good. The moving truck arrives Monday. The game was just beginning. The cottage and the climb. The cottage was 700 square feet of humility. 1 bedroom. A kitchenette that barely fit 2 people. A bathroom where the shower and toilet had to negotiate who got priority. No view except cedar trees and the distant shimmer of the Sound. Silas Vane stood in the doorway with 2 suitcases. Everything Arya had allowed him to bring, and felt the walls press in like a vice. It's cozy, his assistant Marcus said weakly. Marcus had driven him from New York, a 2-day journey filled with silence and disbelief. It's a shoebox. It's honest. Marcus, who'd been with Silas for 8 years, had never spoken to him like this. Maybe that's what you need. Silas wanted to fire him, but Arya's contract had stripped him of that power. He was an employee now. Of her. The woman he'd destroyed. The irony tasted like rust. Marcus left. The cottage settled into silence. Silas unpacked. Clothes he'd never wash properly, because he'd never washed his own clothes in his life. Toiletries from a drugstore, because his Italian cologne wasn't in the approved budget. A laptop he'd use for his new job, analyzing market trends for Eden Tech's agricultural division. He'd gone from commanding boardrooms to preparing PowerPoints for people half his age. That first night, he made instant ramen for dinner because it was all he knew how to prepare. That didn't require a private chef. It was terrible. He ate it anyway, staring at the bare walls, wondering if this was what rock bottom felt like. Except it wasn't. Because the next morning, he saw them. Leo and Luna were playing in the garden behind the main house. He watched from the cottage window, hidden behind thin curtains. Leo built an elaborate fort from sticks. Luna knocked it down and rebuilt it, better, which started an argument that ended with both of them laughing. They had his laugh, both of them. That sharp, unexpected bark of joy he only remembered feeling as a child, before business school trained it out of him. Sarah Chen spotted him watching. She walked over, knocked on his door. "Stalking isn't a good look," she said when he answered. "I wasn't. You were. And I get it. But Arya's rules are clear. Sunday dinners, supervised. That's it. You violate that, you're gone." "They're my children, biologically sure. But fatherhood, that's earned." She softened slightly. "Look, I've known Arya for 3 years. I've watched her build this from nothing while raising twins alone. She had morning sickness while negotiating with suppliers. She breastfed during conference calls. Those kids are alive because she refused to break." Sarah paused. "You broke her. So yeah, you don't get access just because you donated DNA." She walked away. Silas stood there, chastened and furious and heartbroken all at once. His first day at Eden Tech was worse. His supervisor was a 26-year-old named Derek who called him Silas instead of Miseka. Vain and explained spreadsheet formulas like he was talking to a child. "So basically, we track seasonal crop yields against market fluctuation. Easy stuff. Think you can handle it." Silas had been managing billion-dollar portfolios since Derek was in middle school, but he nodded. "I'll manage." Lunch was in the company cafeteria, subsidized meals, everyone equal. He sat alone, eating a sandwich that tasted like cardboard, watching Arya through the glass walls of her office. She was in a meeting with investors, confident, commanding, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with how she looked and everything to do with what she'd become. Someone sat across from him, a woman. Latina, maybe early 30s. Dark eyes that saw too much. "You're him," she said. "The ex-husband, news travels. In a company this small, everyone knows everything." She extended her hand. "Rosa Delgado, head of security." He shook it. Her grip was firm. "Cop strong. Let me guess," Silas said. "You're here to warn me away." "Nope. Here to tell you a story." She bit into an apple. 5 years ago, I was working private security in Seattle. Got a call about a woman squatting in an abandoned building on the south side. Pregnant. Sick. Wouldn't go to a shelter because she was terrified someone would find her. Silas's chest tightened. That was Arya. I was supposed to arrest her for trespassing. Instead, I bought her groceries, sat with her while she cried. She told me about a man who threw her away, about babies she was determined to win if it killed her. Rosa's eyes were hard. She almost died, you know. Premature labor at 30, 2 weeks, twins born in a clinic with no ICU. Leo's lungs weren't developed. They kept him alive with a hand pump while Arya hemorrhaged. Silas couldn't breathe. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what it cost her to survive you. What it cost those kids to make it into this world. Rosa stood. Sunday dinner is your audition. Don't waste it. She left him there, surrounded by people who knew his story and hated him for it. That Sunday came too slowly and too fast. Arya's dining room was warm. Candles, fresh flowers. The smell of something cooking that made his stomach growl. He'd been living on cereal and sandwiches all week. Leo and Luna sat on one side of the table, Arya at the head. An empty chair across from the twins. For him. Ground rules. Arya said as he sat. No talk about money. No questions about the past. You're here to get to know them, not interrogate them. Understood. Luna stared at him with those impossible eyes. Are you the man from the office? I am. Do you have a name? Silas? That's a weird name. Leo said. Lo, Arya warned. It's okay. Silas tried to smile. It is pretty weird. It means forest in Latin. We'll live in a forest, Luna said. So I guess it fits. Dinner was roast chicken with vegetables from Eden Tech's greenhouses. Arya served the twins first. Then herself. Then him. The hierarchy was clear. What do you do here? Leo asked, pushing peas around his plate. I work with numbers. Help figure out what crops to plant, when to sell them. That sounds boring. It is a little. What did you do before? Luna asked. The question landed like a grenade. Silas glanced at Arya. She gave him nothing. I worked with buildings, buying and selling them. Like Monopoly. Exactly like Monopoly. Did you win? He thought about the penthouse he'd lost. The empire crumbling. The wife he'd traded for a fraud. Not really. After dinner, the twins showed him their room. Bunk beds they decorated with drawings. A shelf of books. A terrarium with a lizard named Gerald. Mom says you're staying in the cottage. Leo said. I am. Is it nice? Silas thought about the bare walls. The futon mattress. The shower that only gave lukewarm water. Eats quiet. Mum likes quiet, Luna said. She says noise reminds her of sad times. Something in his chest cracked. When he left, Arya walked him to the door. They're extraordinary, he said. I know. How did you do it? And she looked at him for a long time. You don't get to ask me that yet. Maybe ever. But I'll tell you this every night. I made them promise not to be like you. To value people over profit. To never throw anyone away for convenience. I was wrong, Arya. About everything. I know. But knowing you were wrong doesn't erase what you did. You don't get forgiveness just because you finally feel bad. She closed the door. He walked back to the cottage through the dark. That night, he didn't sleep. He thought about Leo's lungs not working. About Arya bleeding out in some clinic. About how close he'd come to having nothing because he'd valued the wrong things. The next morning, he showed up to work early. Derek looked surprised. You're here before me. Won't happen again, Silas said. But today, I need you to teach me everything I don't know. That could take a while. Good. I've got time. And for the first time in his life, Silas Vane stopped performing, stopped pretending he didn't need help, and started learning what it meant to build something real. The unraveling. Lady Catherine Vane arrived in Washington on a Tuesday afternoon with all the subtlety of an invading army. 2 black SUVs, 4 assistants, enough Louis Vuitton luggage to clothe a small nation. She'd tracked Silas down through private investigators, expensive ones who asked no questions and delivered results. Her son, the heir to the Vane empire, living in a cottage like some kind of pauper. It was unacceptable. She swept into Eden Tech's lobby wearing Chanel and contempt. "I'm here to see Silas Vane." The receptionist, a young woman named Amy, didn't blink. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm his mother." "That's not an appointment." Lady Catherine's nostrils flared. "Do you know who I am?" "Lady Catherine Vane." "Yes, ma'am." "Still need an appointment." Before Catherine could detonate, Arya appeared. She'd been alerted the moment the SUVs crossed onto the property. Rosa's security team was thorough. "Catherine." Catherine turned. For a moment, recognition didn't click. This tall, confident woman in a tailored suit bore no resemblance to the trembling girl she'd destroyed 5 years ago. Then it hit. "You..." Arya smiled, "Still not dead, unfortunately. Come. Let's talk in my office." The office was glass and steel with a view of the Sound. Photos on the desk, the twins at the beach. The twins in the greenhouse. No photos of Silas. Catherine sat like she was evaluating furniture. "I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now." "I'm not playing anything." "Your son asked for help. I provided terms. He accepted. You're holding him hostage. I'm employing him. There's a difference. He's living in a shack. He's living within his means. Something he's never done before." Catherine stood abruptly. "You were supposed to be dead. I paid for you to be dead." There it was. The admission. Arya pressed a button on her desk. Rosa entered, holding a tablet. "Catherine Vane." "You're under arrest for solicitation of murder," Rosa said. She wasn't a cop anymore, but she had friends who were. Very good friends. Catherine's face went purple. "You can't prove anything." Detective Miller kept excellent records before he died. Bank transfers, recorded conversations, signed contracts. Arya's voice was ice. "He left everything to me." Insurance, he called it. 2 actual police officers entered. Seattle PD, badges out. Catherine looked between them and Arya. "Silas will never forgive you for this." "Silas doesn't have to. I'm not doing this for him." As they led Catherine out, she turned one last time. "Those children aren't yours. They're Vane's. Our blood. Our legacy. You can't keep them from their heritage." "Their heritage," Arya said softly, "is what I teach them. And I'm teaching them that cruelty has consequences." The door closed. Rosa whistled. That was cold. That was justice. That evening, Silas appeared at the main house, frantic. "Where's my mother?" "Her assistant says she was arrested." Arya was reading to the twins in the library. "She was. For trying to have me killed." Leo's eyes went wide. "Someone tried to kill you, Mum. A long time ago, baby." "I'm fine now." "Was it her?" Luna pointed at Silas, his mum. The room went silent. Silas knelt down. "Eye level with them." "Yes, My mother did something unforgivable, and I didn't know, but that doesn't excuse it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Luna studied him seriously. Do you love your mom even though she's mean? I don't know anymore. That's sad. Tears hit Silas's eyes before he could stop them. Yeah. It really is. Leo, always the empathetic one, reached out and touched Silas's hand, just briefly. It's okay to be sad. Mom says feelings aren't wrong. Just what you do with them. Silas looked at Arya. You teach them that. Among other things. After the twins went to bed, Silas stayed. I should hate you, he said, for arresting my mother, but you don't. No. Because she tried to kill you. And if she'd succeeded, he couldn't finish. They sat in the library, the fire crackling. For the first time in 5 years, they weren't enemies in the same room. Isabella left. Silas said suddenly. 6 months ago, right before the scandal broke, took Catherine, the baby, and disappeared. Turns out you were right. DNA test proved she wasn't mine. Isabella's been blackmailing me ever since, threatening to go public unless I paid her. How much? Everything I had left. Arya absorbed this. What did you do? I told her to publish whatever she wanted. That I was done being afraid of the truth. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, liberation feels like drowning. It gets easier. Does it? She thought about the shelter, the cold, the fear. No. But you get stronger. They sat in silence. They're starting to warm up to me, Silas said. Leo asked if I wanted to help build a treehouse next week. Did you say yes? I said I'd never built anything in my life, and he said that was okay because neither had he. We'd figure it out together. Arya's chest tightened. He's good at that. Finding the best in people? He gets that from you. Maybe. Silas stood to leave, then paused. That night at the gala, when you said you were pregnant, I didn't believe you because I couldn't imagine you'd want children with me. I thought you were lying to save the marriage. But you weren't trying to save anything, were you? No. I was trying to share joy with someone I loved. And you killed it before it could even breathe. He nodded. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life wishing I could undo it. You can't. But you can do better. For them. He left. Arya sat alone, staring at the fire. The next morning, Rosa knocked on her office door. You've got a visitor. Says it's urgent. Who? Isabella Sterling. Arya's blood turned to ice. Isabella stood in the lobby. Thinner than Arya remembered. Tired, holding a little girl with Silas's jawline and someone else's eyes. I need to talk to you, Isabella said. Alone. They went to a private conference room. The child, Catherine, played with blocks in the corner. I'm broke, Isabella said without preamble. My family's accounts are frozen. The feds seized everything. I've been living in a motel outside Spokane. She laughed broken. Funny how fast you fall when the money goes. Why are you here? Because I need help, and because I owe you the truth. I already know the truth. You faked a pregnancy to trap Silas. That's not all. Isabella leaned forward. Lady Catherine paid me. 5 million up front. Another 5 when I produced an heir. She didn't care if the baby was Silas's. She just needed him married to someone she approved of. Someone white. Someone connected. Arya's jaw clenched. She orchestrated everything. All of it. She showed me the fake medical records she'd created for you. Told me Silas would be desperate for a child. All I had to do was show up pregnant at the right time. Tears tracked down Isabella's face. I was 22 and stupid and broke. My family's bank was already in trouble. I thought this was the answer. It wasn't. No. And now my daughter asks about her daddy, and I have to explain that the man I told her was her father isn't. That I lied to everyone, including myself. Catherine looked up from her blocks. Mama, I'm hungry. In a minute, baby. Arya studied the little girl. She was innocent in all this. A pawn like the rest of them. What do you want from me? A job. Anything. I'll work in the cafeteria. Clean toilets. I just need to feed my daughter. And Silas? He deserves the truth. From me. Not through lawyers or DNA tests. Face to face. That Sunday dinner was different. Silas arrived to find Isabella sitting at the table. He froze. What is she doing here? Telling the truth, Arya said. Sit down. Leo and Luna were with Sarah for the evening. Arya had planned this carefully. Isabella confessed everything. Lady Catherine's plan. The fake pregnancy. The surrogate. The blackmail. Silas listened without interrupting. When she finished, his voice was hollow. My entire life was a lie. Not all of it, Arya said quietly. Leo and Luna are real. Isabella stood. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. But I am. She left with Catherine. Silas sat motionless. Say something. Arya said. My mother tried to kill you. My ex-wife lied about my child. I threw away the only real thing I ever had. He looked at her. How do I come back from that? You don't come back. You move forward. You build something new. With you. With Leo and Luna. That's all I'm offering right now. That's more than I deserve. I know. But that night, when Arya tucked the twins into bed, Luna asked a question that changed everything. Mum, is Silas our dad? Arya's breath caught. What makes you ask that? He has my eyes. And Leo's nose. Sarah says that's called genetics. From the top bunk, Leo chimed in. And he's trying really hard. Like really, really hard. Only dads try that hard. Arya sat on the edge of Luna's bed. What'd you want him to be? They looked at each other. Those silent twin conversations she could never decode. Maybe, Leo said. On trial. Like a library book. We can return him if he's not good. Arya laughed despite herself. That's not exactly how it works. Why not? Luna asked. You said people have to earn their place in our lives. I did say that. So he can earn it. But we're not calling him Dad yet. He's Silas until he proves it. Fair enough. The next morning, Arya called Silas to her office. The twins want to spend more time with you. Real time. Not just Sunday dinners. His face transformed. On one condition. You tell them the truth. Age appropriate but honest. About the gala. About why I left. About what you did. Arya, they're 5. And they're smart. They'll find out eventually. Better from you, on your terms, than from some tabloid when they're older. He swallowed hard. Okay. And Silas. She softened slightly. Don't screw this up. They're giving you a chance I'm not sure you've earned yet. But they see something in you? I'm trying to see too. What's that? Potential. He left, hope and terror warring on his face. And Arya, watching him go, wondered if maybe, just maybe, people really could change. But she'd been wrong before. Time would tell. The treehouse truth. The treehouse was Leo's idea, but it became Silas's redemption. Every evening after work, they met at the massive cedar at the edge of the property. Silas brought tools he was learning to use. Leo brought sketches of increasingly impossible designs. Luna brought opinions about everything. That board is crooked. She'd say, hands on hips like a tiny foreman. It's rustic. Silas would counter. It's wrong. He'd redo it. Every time. Because she was right. Always. Watching them from the house, Arya felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something softer. Something that looked like hope from certain angles. "You're staring," Sarah said, appearing with coffee. "I'm observing. You're staring like a woman reconsidering her defenses. Me defenses are fine." Sarah sipped her coffee. "For what it's worth, he's different. The guys in the agricultural division say he asks questions now instead of giving orders. Actually listens. People can fake change. For 6 months. While living in a cottage the size of a parking space and making poverty wages." Sarah shook her head. "That's not fake. That's transformation." That evening, Silas knocked on the main house door after the twins were asleep. Arya answered in sweatpants and an old t-shirt. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. Not the CEO armor she wore during the day. He stared. "What?" she said. "Nothing. You look like you." "I am me. I know. I'd just forgotten." She let him in. They sat in the kitchen. She made tea. He watched her move through the space like she owned it. Because she did. Owned the house. The company. The future. Everything he'd once taken for granted. "I told them," he said. "Told them what?" "The truth. About the gala. About throwing you out. About believing you were lying when you said you were pregnant." Arya's hand stilled on the teapot. "How did they react?" "Luna asked if I was a villain in a story. I said yes. She asked if villains could become heroes. I said I didn't know, but I was trying." His voice cracked. "Leo asked if I was sorry. I said he asked if sorry was enough. I said no. He said good. Because Mom taught them that actions matter more than words." Tears burned Arya's eyes. "They said that. They're 5 and they're smarter than I'll ever be. Wonder where they get that." They sat in silence. The tea steeped. The clock ticked. "I've been thinking," Silas said carefully, "about what happens after this." "After what?" "After I prove myself. Or don't. After the twins decide if I get to stay. After you." He stopped. "After I what?" "After you decide if there's any universe where you could ever see me again. Not as the man who destroyed you, but as someone new." Arya poured tea with hands that shook slightly. "You want redemption. I want a family. Real this time. Not a business arrangement or a legacy play. Just people who matter." "You had that. You threw it away. I know. And I can't undo it. But I can build something new if you let me." She met his eyes. "What if I can't? What if the damage is too deep? Then I'll still be here. For Leo and Luna. That has to be enough?" "Does it?" "None." He smiled sadly. "But it's what I deserve." 3 weeks later, the treehouse was finished. It wasn't perfect. The floor tilted slightly. One wall had a gap. But it was sturdy and real and built by hands that learned to work together. They had a small ceremony. Sarah brought cupcakes. Rosa strung up lights. The twins cut a ribbon made from Luna's old scarves. "I declare this treehouse officially open," Leo announced. Everyone cheered. That night, after the party, Arya found Silas sitting in the treehouse alone. Room for one more. She asked from the ladder. "Always." She climbed up. The floor creaked but held. They sat with their backs against opposite walls, the space between them measured in years and hurt, and slowly healing wounds. "Thank you," he said, for letting me do this. For them. Don't thank me yet. This is still a trial. I know. But for the first time in my life, I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to be present. She studied him. The grey in his hair, the calluses on his hands from real work, the way he talked about the twins like they were miracles instead of assets. You've changed. She admitted. The old Silas couldn't survive here. He was too brittle. Too afraid. Afraid of what? Being ordinary. Being insufficient. Being seen as less than. He laughed. Turns out, ordinary is where the real stuff lives. The stuff that matters. Arya's phone buzzed. A reminder about tomorrow's board meeting. About the pharmaceutical launch. About the empire she'd built while he crumbled. I should go, she said. Wait. He pulled something from his pocket. I wrote you a letter. Read it when you're ready. Or don't. But I needed to say things I couldn't say out loud. She took it. Their fingers brushed. With Leo and Luna. That's all I'm offering right now. That's more than I deserve. I know. But that night, when Arya tucked the twins into bed, Luna asked a question that changed everything. Mum, is Silas our dad? Arya's breath caught. What makes you ask that? He has my eyes. And Leo's nose. Sarah says that's called genetics. From the top bunk, Leo chimed in. And he's trying really hard. Like really, really hard. Only dads try that hard. Arya sat on the edge of Luna's bed. What'd you want him to be? They looked at each other. Those silent twin conversations she could never decode. Maybe, Leo said. On trial. Like a library book. We can return him if he's not good. Arya laughed despite herself. That's not exactly how it works. Why not? Luna asked. You said people have to earn their place in our lives. I did say that. So he can earn it. But we're not calling him Dad yet. He's Silas until he proves it. Fair enough. The next morning, Arya called Silas to her office. The twins want to spend more time with you. Real time. Not just Sunday dinners. His face transformed, on one condition. You tell them the truth. Age appropriate but honest. About the gala. About why I left. About what you did. Arya, they're 5. And they're smart. They'll find out eventually. Better from you, on your terms, than from some tabloid when they're older. He swallowed hard. Okay. And Silas. She softened slightly. Don't screw this up. They're giving you a chance I'm not sure you've earned yet. But they see something in you? I'm trying to see too. What's that? Potential. He left, hope and terror warring on his face. And Arya, watching him go, wondered if maybe, just maybe, people really could change. But she'd been wrong before. Time would tell. The treehouse truth. The treehouse was Leo's idea, but it became Silas's redemption. Every evening after work, they met at the massive cedar at the edge of the property. Silas brought tools he was learning to use. Leo brought sketches of increasingly impossible designs. Luna brought opinions about everything. That board is crooked. She'd say, hands on hips like a tiny foreman. It's rustic. Silas would counter. It's wrong. He'd redo it. Every time. Because she was right. Always. Watching them from the house, Arya felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something softer. Something that looked like hope from certain angles. You're staring, Sarah said, appearing with coffee. I'm observing. You're staring like a woman reconsidering her defenses. Me defenses are fine. Sarah sipped her coffee. For what it's worth, he's different. The guys in the agricultural division say he asks questions now instead of giving orders. Actually listens. People can fake change. For 6 months, while living in a cottage the size of a parking space and making poverty wages. Sarah shook her head. That's not fake. That's transformation. That evening, Silas knocked on the main house door after the twins were asleep. Arya answered in sweatpants and an old t-shirt. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. Not the CEO armor she wore during the day. He stared. What? She said. Nothing. You look like you. I am me. I know. I'd just forgotten. She let him in. They sat in the kitchen. She made tea. He watched her move through the space like she owned it, because she did. Owned the house. The company. The future. Everything he'd once taken for granted. I told them, he said. Told them what? The truth. About the gala. About throwing you out. About believing you were lying when you said you were pregnant. Arya's hands stilled on the teapot. How did they react? Luna asked if I was a villain in a story. I said yes. She asked if villains could become heroes. I said I didn't know, but I was trying. His voice cracked. Leo asked if I was sorry. I said he asked if sorry was enough. I said no. He said good. Because Mom taught them that actions matter more than words. Tears burned Arya's eyes. They said that. They're 5 and they're smarter than I'll ever be. Wonder where they get that. They sat in silence. The tea steeped. The clock ticked. I've been thinking, Silas said carefully, about what happens after this. After what? After I prove myself. Or don't. After the twins decide if I get to stay. After you. He stopped. After I what? After you decide if there's any universe where you could ever see me again. Not as the man who destroyed you, but as someone new. Arya poured tea with hands that shook slightly. You want redemption. I want a family. Real this time. Not a business arrangement or a legacy play. Just people who matter. You had that. You threw it away. I know. And I can't undo it. But I can build something new if you let me. She met his eyes. What if I can't? What if the damage is too deep? Then I'll still be here. For Leo and Luna. That has to be enough? Does it, Nung? He smiled sadly. But it's what I deserve. 3 weeks later, the treehouse was finished. It wasn't perfect. The floor tilted slightly. One wall had a gap. But it was sturdy and real and built by hands that learned to work together. They had a small ceremony. Sarah brought cupcakes. Rosa strung up lights. The twins cut a ribbon made from Luna's old scarves. I declare this treehouse officially open. Leo announced. Everyone cheered. That night, after the party, Arya found Silas sitting in the treehouse alone. Room for one more. She asked from the ladder. Always. She climbed up. The floor creaked but held. They sat with their backs against opposite walls, the space between them measured in years and hurt, and slowly healing wounds. Thank you, he said, for letting me do this. For them. Don't thank me yet. This is still a trial. I know. But for the first time in my life, I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to be present. She studied him. The grey in his hair, the calluses on his hands from real work, the way he talked about the twins like they were miracles instead of assets. You've changed, she admitted. The old Silas couldn't survive here. He was too brittle. Too afraid. Afraid of what? Being ordinary. being insufficient, being seen as less than. He laughed. Turns out, ordinary is where the real stuff lives. The stuff that matters. Arya's phone buzzed. A reminder about tomorrow's board meeting. About the pharmaceutical launch. About the empire she'd built while he crumbled. I should go, she said. Wait. He pulled something from his pocket. I wrote you a letter. Read it when you're ready. Or don't. But I needed to say things I couldn't say out loud. She took it. Their fingers brushed. That night, alone in her bedroom, she opened it. Arya, I don't know how to start this except to say I'm sorry. I've said it before, but words without context are just noise. So here's the context. I'm sorry for believing my mother's lies because they were easier than confronting my own prejudice. I'm sorry for valuing what you represented, beauty, warmth, difference, without valuing who you were. I'm sorry for treating you like an acquisition instead of a partner. I'm sorry for humiliating you in front of people who never deserved to judge you. I'm sorry for the blizzard, for the locked accounts, for every casual cruelty I inflicted because I could, but most of all, I'm sorry I missed it. The miracle of Leo and Luna. The first kicks, the first ultrasound, the moment they were born. I'm sorry I chose pride over presence. You asked me once why I married you. I said it was because you were different. That was a lie, or a partial truth. I married you because when you looked at me, you saw someone worth believing in. Not my money or my name, just me, Celis, the man underneath, and it terrified me, because I didn't know who that man was. I'd spent my whole life being what my family expected, what the business world demanded. I never learned to be real. You were real, unapologetically, courageously. And instead of learning from that, I destroyed it. I can't ask you to forgive me. Forgiveness isn't transactional. You don't owe me that. But I can promise you this every day. I'm learning to be the man our children deserve. The man you deserved 5 years ago. Even if I'm 5 years too late. Even if you never see me that way again. Thank you for letting me try. Celis. Arya read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and placed it in her nightstand drawer. She didn't cry. She'd cried enough 5 years ago. But something shifted. A door she'd welded shut cracked open. Just an inch. Just enough for light to slip through. The next morning, she found Silas at his desk in the agricultural division. Everyone else had gone to lunch. The letter, she said. He looked up, terrified yet. It was good, honest. But words are easy. You said it yourself. Actions matter more. What action do you need? She thought about the question she'd carried for 5 years, the one that kept her up at night. I need to know you'd choose them, if it came down to it. If your mother got out. If someone offered you the Vane Empire back. If Isabella showed up with proof Catherine was yours. She leaned forward. I need to know you'd choose Leo and Luna over everything, even your name. I would. Prove it. How? Your mother's trial is next month. You'll be asked to testify. The prosecution wants your statement about her character. Her lawyer will pressure you to defend her. The Vane family lawyer will threaten your inheritance. She paused. Tell the truth. All of it. No matter what it costs. His face went pale. That would destroy what's left of the family name. I know. My grandmother's legacy is built on lies and cruelty. Let it burn. He sat back, processing. If I do this, I lose everything. The Vane Trust. The estate. My name in every boardroom that matters. You'll have a cottage. A $40,000 job. And 2 kids who might, eventually, call you Dad. That's not a fair trade by most standards. No, Arya agreed. It's better. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded. Okay, I'll testify. Full truth. No protection, Arya's breath caught. You mean it? Every word. He stood. Because you're right. My mother tried to erase you. Erase them. That's unforgivable. And if burning the vain name to the ground is what it takes to prove I'm not her, he smiled. Then let it burn. For the first time in 5 years, Arya believed him. Not because of his words, but because of what those words would cost. And that, she was learning, was how you measured real change. Not in what someone said, but in what they were willing to lose. The man who rebuilt everything. The courtroom was old oak and cold judgment. Silas sat in the witness box, hand on the Bible, surrounded by people who'd once respected the vain name. Reporters filled the gallery. Cameras waited outside for the statement that would make headlines. Lady Catherine sat at the defense table in Chanel and handcuffs. Her lawyer, a shark named Morrison, looked confident. After all, what son would destroy his own mother? The prosecutor, a woman named Valdez, stood. Mr. Vane, please state your relationship to the defendant. She's my mother. And are you here today under any duress or coercion? No, Valdez nodded. Can you tell the court about the events of February 2020, specifically regarding your ex-wife, Arya Moreno? Silas looked at Arya. She sat in the front row, flanked by Sarah and Rosa. No twins, they were too young for this. But she was there. Steady, strong, he took a breath. My mother hated Arya from the day I introduced them. Not because of who Arya was, but because of what she represented. Someone outside our world. Someone who didn't fit the carefully curated Vane image. His voice was steady. She forged medical records to make me believe Arya was infertile. She did this to manipulate me into ending the marriage. Gasps from the gallery. Morrison jumped up. Objection! Speculation. I have the doctor's signed affidavit. Valdez said calmly. Ducker. Richard Chen was paid $200,000 by Lady Catherine Vane to falsify test results. He's already pled guilty to medical fraud. The judge waved Morrison down. Continue, Mr. Vane. When I announced the annulment at a public event, my mother was pleased. She told me I was correcting a mistake when Arya disappeared shortly after, when I thought she'd died. My mother expressed relief, said it was cleaner this way. Catherine's face was stone. I didn't know then that she'd hired Detective Miller to kill Arya. I didn't know Arya was pregnant with my children. I didn't know any of it, because I was too busy being the son my mother wanted instead of the man I should have been. Morrison stood. Your Honor, this is character assassination. This is testimony. Valdez cut in. From her own son, Silas continued, voice breaking now. My mother valued bloodlines over humanity, legacy over love. She was willing to murder a pregnant woman to preserve an image. He looked directly at Catherine, and I enabled it. By believing her, by not questioning, by choosing convenience over truth. Catherine's lawyer tried damage control in cross-examination. Isn't it true you're currently employed by Ms. Moreno? That you have financial motivation to testify against your mother? I make $40,000 a year. Hardly worth perjuring myself. You've lost your inheritance, your company, your reputation. Isn't this revenge new? Silas met the lawyer's eyes. This is accountability. Something I should have chosen 5 years ago. The trial lasted 3 more days. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Fraud. Lady Catherine Vane was sentenced to 25 years. Outside the courthouse, Silas faced the cameras alone. No family. No legal team, just him. The Vane name has stood for power and prestige for 4 generations. Today, I'm ending it. Not because I hate my family, but because I finally understand what legacy actually means. It's not money or property or bloodlines. It's what you leave in the people you touch. And my mother's legacy is pain. He paused. I'm starting over. Not as a Vane, just as Silas. A father trying to be worthy of his children. A man trying to build something real. He walked away from the cameras. Away from the name. Away from everything he'd once believed made him matter, and walked toward the car where Arya waited. She didn't say anything. Just drove. They picked up the twins from Sarah's house. Leo and Luna ran to the car, oblivious to the weight of the day. Did you tell the truth? Leo did. Was it hard? Very. Good, Luna said matter-of-factly. Hard things make you stronger. Mom says so. That night, they had dinner at the main house. Just the 4 of them. Pasta and salad and garlic bread. Simple. Real. Can I ask you something? Leo said between bites. Always? Silas said. Why did you choose us? You could have lied. Kept your money and your big name. Silas looked at Arya. She gave him nothing. This was his answer to give. Because I finally figured out that none of that stuff matters. Money goes away. Names get forgotten. But you too. Leo and Luna. You're forever. You're the only real thing I've ever been part of. He swallowed hard. I don't deserve you. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to. Luna considered this seriously. Then she got up, walked around the table, and climbed into his lap. Okay, she said. You can be our dad. On probation. What's probation? Leo asked. It means we're watching him. Luna explained. If he messes up? Silas laughed through tears. Deal. Leo joined them. Then Arya. All 4 of them tangled together in a chair meant for one. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't erasing the past. But it was real. That night, after the twins were asleep, Silas walked Arya to her room. Thank you, he said, for letting me prove myself. You're not done proving yet, I know. But can I ask you something? Maybe. Do you think there's a version of this where you and I? She stopped him with a hand on his chest. I don't know. Ask me again in a year. After you've been their dad every day. After you've handled the hard stuff. The tantrums and the sick days and the times when they hate you for setting boundaries. And if I do all that, then maybe we'll talk about us. But Silas, she looked up at him. I'm not the girl you married. I'm not soft anymore. I'm not forgiving. I built an empire from your cruelty. I'm harder now. Sharper, I know. And I love that about you. I love the woman you became in spite of me. She kissed his cheek. Soft, brief. Then prove you can love that woman without trying to change her. I will. She closed the door. 1 year later, the treehouse had an addition, a reading nook that Leo designed and Silas built. Luna's organizational system kept everything perfect. Silas had been promoted to senior analyst, still at Eden Tech, still under Arya's company, but respected now. Valued for his work, not his name. The twins called him Dad without hesitation. He'd never missed a soccer game, a parent-teacher conference, or a bedtime story. He'd learned to cook. Badly, but enthusiastically. He'd sold the last of his designer suits and bought jeans that actually fit. He'd become, impossibly, the man Arya always needed. On their 6-year anniversary, the anniversary of the gala, where it all fell apart, Silas knocked on Arya's door. She opened it in her favorite sweatshirt. No makeup. Just her. Walk with me. They walked through the property, past the greenhouse, past the cottage where he'd learned to be humble, past the treehouse where he'd learned to build, to a clearing overlooking the sound. He'd set up a blanket. Wine, cheese, strawberries. "What is this?" she asked. "A do-over of our first date. Remember? I took you to that expensive restaurant and ordered for you without asking what you wanted." She laughed. "You ordered foie gras. I'm vegetarian. I was an asshole." "You really were." They sat, watched the sunset paint the water gold and purple. "I asked you a year ago if you could see a future with me," Silas said. "You told me to ask again after I'd proven myself as a father." "I remember. So I'm asking, can you see it? A future where we're not just co-parents, but partners. Where I get to love you the way I should have from the start." Arya was quiet for a long time. "I see possibilities," she finally said. "I see a man who chose the hard road, who lost everything and found something better, who loves our children fiercely and honestly. But I'm scared of going back, of trusting again and being wrong." He took her hand, gently, asking, not taking. "Then don't trust the old me. Trust this me, the one you helped create, the one your strength built." She looked at their joined hands, his calloused from work, hers strong from building empires. "If we do this, we do it my way, slow, careful. We date like normal people. No proposals, no grand gestures, just coffee and walks and learning each other again. Done. And if you ever make me feel less than, you'll destroy me." She smiled. "Okay, then. Okay. Okay." He kissed her, soft and careful and full of promise. When they pulled apart, she was crying. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I just never thought I'd get here. To the place where you're real. I'm real. I'm so real it hurts sometimes." They lay back on the blanket, watched stars emerge. "I'm still richer than you," Arya said. "Be a lot. I'm still your boss. Technically, yes. And I'm still not taking your name if we ever wouldn't dream of asking." She turned to look at him. "But you want to?" "Eventually. Eventually. I want to be your husband, your partner, your equal. Whatever that looks like in your world." "It looks like this," she said. "Exactly this." 2 years later, they got married on the property. Small ceremony. Just family and friends. The twins were flower children and walked them both down the aisle. Arya wore green, her choice. Silas cried through his vows. Everyone cried. When they kissed, Leo shouted, "Female, why?" And the whole crowd laughed. The reception was in the greenhouse. Dancing among the plants Arya had coaxed to life. The same plants that had saved her, built her empire, gave her the power to rebuild everything. Late in the evening, Silas found Arya alone, staring at the stars through the glass ceiling. "Regrets?" he asked. "About what?" "Giving me another chance." She pulled him close. "Ask me in 50 years, deal?" They danced. Not perfectly, but together. And in that moment, with their children laughing and their friends celebrating, and the empire she'd built blooming around them, Arya realized something profound. Revenge wasn't about destroying the person who hurt you. It was about becoming so powerful, so successful, so completely yourself that their cruelty became irrelevant. She'd won not by taking Silas down, but by building herself up. And sometimes, the sweetest revenge is living so well that the person who threw you away has to earn their way back. One day, one choice, one piece of proof at a time. I love you. Sealers whispered. I know, Arya said. And I love who you became, not who I was. That man is dead. Good riddance. He laughed. Good riddance. They danced until the stars blurred with tears and joy and the impossible grace of second chances. Because sometimes, barren soil grows the most beautiful gardens. You just have to survive the winter first. THEND.